Hey, glad you can make it. Welcome to Fantasy Dad Pods, where dad bods are glorified and dad jokes are encouraged. I'm JT, accompanied by Sean. Sean, how we doing?
We're doing good, doing good. We braved some snow, as I'm sure you did. And by snow, I mean it snowed a couple inches and then it melted immediately by 3 o'clock every day for about, 3 days, I think, on and off. Skipped a day here and there, did another couple of days. So it snowed the first day. It was snowing one morning. I drove my wife and kids to work and school and everything and came back home. And my wife's like, oh, we got to uh, get the shovels out. And I was like, it's going to be gone by the time we get home. It was definitely gone. There's people who did shovel it, and that pile of snow stayed. You could see it's still there for a little
Right.
bit on some of the people, like a couple of the streets. But the people who didn't shovel, it's all gone. Not on the grass, no nothing. So that was entertaining. We still haven't been able to see Dogman yet. Things came up, so kids going through testing his limits a little bit still. So we don't want to reward him with Dogman yet. So he's got to earn that. But I was hoping to report on how good Dogman was, but no dose yet. No, I'll get my Rotten Tomato score here hopefully this weekend. But other than that, no, nothing crazy. He had a couple little friend time from old work coworkers, and other than that, yeah, like just chilling at home. Nothing else. What about you?
Oh man. Well, it's kind of been like a week and a half. So
Yeah,
we had two baseball clinics since we last talked. There's one left, so that means baseball's right around the corner for Little League. Basketball game was messy, is how I describe it. We had basketball practice tonight, so I was talking to the kids like, "Hey, that was a really physical game. I appreciate the way you went about your business and you weren't complaining. You were just playing hard. And because the refs are like the new ref program, I don't know if you've heard
yeah,
like the
yep.
whistles and the colors. So I'm getting like brand new refs. I call a timeout when we get to half court. I'm like, okay, I need timeout right here because I checked the clock. There's like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And the guy looked at me like, what? And then he like turns to the table and he's just like, hey, can you call a timeout? And blah, blah. My kids keep going and they took off like two or three shots. Luckily, we kept possession. And then 12 seconds later, he's like, okay, weak whistle, timeout. And I'm just like, okay, there's 18 seconds left now, but we
Talk
still
about
have the
lag.
ball. Yeah. So there's some stuff where I just was like, kind of a blatant shooting foul. It's like, hey, on that last one, I saw, contact
Yeah.
on the shot. I would I would think that would be qualify as, I don't know if you saw it, but I'm trying to coach them
Trying to be
too, these
like
referees.
you're sort of like coaching them up too, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like, hey man, that's a
Yeah.
that's
And
a little bit of a foul.
and the biggest running joke is because these kids go through this local reffing academy ran by a certain someone that I personally don't know, but my father-in-law does and does not think highly of this person and thinks
Okay.
he's full of it. And so the running inside joke is like, well, hey, these kids have gone and got their certificates and qualifications through the prestigious reffing academy of the local region. So it's beyond me why I don't know why they're, inadequate. But anyway,
That's
burn. Uh, but yeah,
my wife actually just sent me. We were at dinner and she's like, "You want to be an umpire?" And I was like, "Absolutely not."
what?
Yeah, and she was like, "Well, how do you get umpire? $30." I'm like, "For 3 hours? That's $10." No, I'm like in the summer,
No,
no, absolutely not. And then
no.
not every parent's as cool as you are, and no, I'm not rolling that. That's for 16-year-olds, like a couple other people, like
Oh
not
yeah.
not for this guy,
Oh yeah. Did you
not for
sign up
this.
for T-ball?
We did.
Okay, cool.
So we got that. Oh, we do have before. Were you? Does that let your update? Sorry, I don't want to cut you off.
Oh, pretty much. Other than we played a new game during the Super Bowl. I think NFL memes like sent it out. So like
Oh,
all of us were like super into watching the game. It was going by super quick. I didn't watch halftime because I was playing with my youngest who was
yeah.
not watching. He was playing Magna Tiles. We
He
played
did.
like
He didn't get all those subtleties from Kendrick Lamar.
no,
Yeah.
I didn't. I missed all of it, and so we were playing like life size Monopoly with crazy, ridiculous rules. And it's not Lincoln Logs, but it's the other wooden building blocks.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. They get
They're
put
like
from.
they're like the shape of an eye, like a
Yeah.
and so
Yeah, it's like Kleenex. You default to Lincoln Logs, but that's not the
yeah,
specific brand. Yeah, that one. Yeah.
we were using two of those as dice. So we literally would roll it, and then we would just come up with that's a 5, and then we would like move our little thing on
Oh,
this giant magnet tile thing he had from Monopoly, and it was just plain
that's
pretend
legit though. That seems like a
during the
pretty
whole
good.
time,
You should have just done that during the fourth quarter.
right?
Yeah, I just wanted a close game, and it was not that. I was talking to my wife before. I was like, "When was the last time like a real blowout happened?" I mean, like the Seahawks Super Bowl was blowout, but we're like the one section of people who didn't care that that was a blowout because we loved that blowout. Before
Hmm.
that, I'm like, we're going back 20 years. There was the last blowout, and then of course I jinxed it, and it was a blowout. And I was like, man, I just want a good game. Didn't really care who won, but just it was, and it was not what I wanted. So I was just
Yeah,
into the game at all. So it was just rough. But it is a Super Bowl. It's what it is. But before we get into this though, Alex Bregman, 3 years, Boston Red Sox just came
yes,
across.
yes. Breaking news tonight. That's why we waited
So
on the podcast. We had insider knowledge that it would
yep,
happen.
we got it. We knew first. We scooped the scoop. But just to rehash the third base, I don't think it changes a ton of my perspective because I think where he was ranked was about where he would be if he went back to Houston, and Boston is the one other place where very short porch and left.
Yep,
Right,
I
right, and
think.
so I think we're like the what we said. I think everything still holds true with Alex Bregman at this point. Maybe not as many
Yeah,
home runs, but just doubles off the wall, maybe like kind of thing
yeah, that's what we
situation.
talked about. Was
Yeah,
just like the
yeah,
counting stats are there. Just I don't think you were counting on him for home runs, and I don't
yeah,
think that'll be as prevalent. But
yep.
it's a
A
good
couple that
lineup
might have
to
snuck
land
over the
in.
crowd for boxes might just be really high off the wall. Like
Yeah,
that's just
the actual like low key benefit might be position eligibility out of
yes,
Devers and Bregman. Like we might see Devers at first base a little bit. We might see Bregman at second base a little bit.
that's
So that's kind of a bonus. And if you get Bregman as a second base eligible,
basement.
that
That shoots him up. Yes,
really benefits him
yeah.
because of I don't know. He's he's getting older. He's starting to wane a little bit, but he's still a good baseball player. It's just fantasy relevance.
He definitely
It boosts it a little
he
bit.
definitely ticks up 4 or 5. I don't check the second base eligibility, but he definitely jumps up 4 or 5 spots on if he flipped over to second base for sure.
Yeah.
Um, But yeah, that's the thing again, it just signed, so they haven't obviously been speculating on where he's going to play officially, because they do have Devers. But you understand, like JT said, some flexibility. I anticipate Devers gets some first, Bregman gets some second. I assume both of those will happen then. But yeah, either way, probably good move for Bregman,
Yeah.
fantasy wise. So
Yeah. And then I don't know. I think it's happened since we last talked. I don't think it happened before. But Pete Alonso stays with the Mets,
it
short
happened since
deal.
we did not. Yeah, yeah,
I think we talked about Pete. It's like Pete's gonna be the polar bear. It is what it
yeah.
is. I think it actually we haven't got to outfield yet, but I think it benefits Soto. That lineup protection. You think about like Soto and how much lineup protection he's had throughout his entire career,
Mhm.
and he was about to go into the Mets without almost any behind him. He had some in front of him, but now
And he
Pete will bat behind him, and so I think that really benefits Soto.
Yeah, he has some young guys who, if they take that step, will be really huge behind him. But like
Yeah,
now, there's like a guy who's like a guy behind him versus like
yeah,
you hope these guys become guys. So it actually really exponentially like Pete's still gonna be Pete, and he'll be better than last year. We're gonna mark up. But like the question is like, he's not gonna be peak Pete with 50 bombs, but like where does he fall between last year and that Pete? I think it's somewhere in
hmm
the middle is pretty safe. I think he just had a rough year last year, so you're right. Like a good middle median year for Pete, plus maybe some of those guys, it's really gonna boost Juan Soto. So yeah, like that's like because honestly, you could say that like Yankees, like it's kind of like a better situation than with New York, other than directly in front of Aaron Judge. But after Aaron Judge, it was versus like you
yeah,
have Pete Alonso who's a step down, but there's some really exciting pieces behind Pete Alonso now with the Yankees that like have shown in smaller sample sizes some real oomph to them, and if they can turn into a full season, it'd be really interesting to see what they do.
Yeah, and it saves us from me giving a hot take. Again, Steve Cohen must have known my hot take was coming next week with the outfielders, and was like, you know what, we better sign Pete Alonso so JT doesn't give
So
a
so
hot
JT
take
was the
about the potential. I was going to say Soto. You know, we talked certain players are the light version of others.
yep.
I was about to say that Soto was the heavy version of Luis Arias. I was going to
Ooh,
go down a
wow.
really dark path.
Wow,
And I was
that
like, I don't care if you get on base 400, 4 out of 10 times. There's not much to do elsewise. Like
what's
the
hotter than
counting.
hot? I know what Outcast says is colder than cold,
Oh,
but what's
right.
hotter than hot?
Magma. I don't know.
I need Outcast to weigh in. So I know you're listening, Outcast. But let's weigh that. Let's whatever flavor that is, whatever it's ice cold. But I need it. What's hot?
Mm-hmm.
What's hot? So I don't know. But
Yeah.
anyways, speaking of white hot, maybe that's it. Bobby Witt Jr. was playing white hot last year. He's 1-1. All right. Like, 2 years in a row now. 9 WAR season. He's 1-1. Okay. Like this quick nod. Yeah. Like, right, yeah.
It is. And
Yeah.
our buddy Kevin for years has had the team name Can't Quit Wit. So like
Yep.
Whit Merrifield. Well, now it's just a different spelling of Wit. Still a Royal,
Yep.
but we can't quit this
Yeah.
Wit.
Still a Royal infield. Just shifted over to one side of second base, but he's young. There's no knock on him. Young, healthy, done it in multiple years. He's 1-1. Like you're crazy to do anything else. So I don't even say that. You're crazy to do anyone else. Even Ellie De La Cruz's best. He's not better than Bobby Witt. Barring injury, it's just not happening. And then we'll go. This is where it gets a little spicy, and this is where it gets. You make a lot of cases for a lot of guys because there is buco talent down here. They have it. Ellie De La Cruz, Gunnar Henderson, Mookie Betts, Lindor, Trey Turner, Corey Seager. We're talking an ex-MVP at number 7. C.J. Abrams, which there's a lot to love there too. O'Neal Cruz. I say probably Lindor had a sneaky good year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why in a market like New York, everyone's like, oh, New York, it's a big market team or it's a big marketplace, all that stuff. He was one stolen base from 30-30 after going 30-30. He went 30-30 and no one said anything. Because Otani was going 50-50. I get it, but 30-30 is still 30-30. You know what I mean? It's not just chump change, here. And he's the number 5 guy. That just tells you what this position is. Do you have an order, JT? Maybe you can leave Lindor off, but do you have an order in the tier of guys you're really excited about in the after Bobby Witt?
I have mixed feelings about Ellie De La Cruz. Like I understand the heaps and gobs and piles of stolen bases. I just know the RBIs are going to be not there. We're looking at probably a guy that he walks decently, maybe like somewhere around 9%, but he's going to strike out probably nearly 30%.
It's probably I would imagine it's going to creep above 30 at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the counting sets, the runs. He's probably going to hit 20 bombs at least. I think again, stolen bases are my blind spot. I admit it, but I feel like I put him in the second tier, but I gravitate him towards the bottom of it for one reason or another. And I don't know, maybe Terry Francona is going to work spicy magic in Cincinnati now, and it's just going to be like Cleveland, where you're just like, how does this equal that?
You say spicy magic. He went from Boston to Cleveland. Both cities not really that known for spices, JT. I mean, yeah, okay, spicy magic. Okay.
Well, it's just like I don't know what to make of it, and I understand the ceiling, but I just feel like there's a more shallower floor than most of the guys around here, and I just feel like I kind of slide him down, and I just feel like as a true definition of hitter, like I gravitate towards like the Gunnar Hendersons here, the Mookie Betts right here, that's just kind of my hesitation in this tier.
I agree. I think this tier is largely just this tier is, and you're saying this and just for everybody at home. You're saying this in context of the second shortstop off the board, not like that. Ellie's bad. It's more like,
No, yeah.
yeah,
I
like,
think my tier
yeah,
goes to, I mentioned the other names just now, and then I add in Lindor and probably Trey Turner. I think that's kind of a
yep,
tier right there. The next five.
yep,
Yeah.
and yeah. I say just from like pure like hype and everything like that. I probably say it goes for me. It goes probably Gunnar Henderson number 2. But this is really like because Gunnar Henderson, same as Bobby Witt, just super young. I mean, we're talking that lineup is great. We talk about how they just don't have hitting 40 home runs, 20 RBIs, and he's just more of a complete hitter than Elliot De La Cruz. Will walk more, has better average, is more disciplined. But he's not gonna steal 60 bases like Elliot De La Cruz. But
Mhm.
Elliot De La Cruz is gonna hit the home runs, but not gonna do the other stats. So it's more. I think JT, I get what you're saying with like why not Elliot De La Cruz? As someone who rostered Elliot De La Cruz, he was nice, but it was like just streakiness too, man. Like there'd be days where it's like 4 or 5 stolen bases. You're like, man, this is awesome, and then you're just like, you're really going through it. You're just really going through sometimes, and it's just like it's more. Elliot De La Cruz has the talent to just be like. I mean, he has the talent to compete with Bobby Witt. I don't know if Gunnar Henderson does, just on a
Mhm.
talent level. Ellie does, but it's putting it together. You know what I mean? There's some guys that have all the talent in the world, but they can get like 80% of it versus like 100% of it. Like there's those. It's usually guys that don't have a ton of talent, or like they get everything out of their body. Everything. Where Ellie, I don't know if he's ever going to get all of it because there's just a lot going on. He's a bigger body shortstop. It's just a lot to. It's harder to do that. Um, he runs so much, maybe injuries creep in. Um, it's just it's 70 stolen bases is so nice. You know what I mean? 70
Yeah.
stolen bases, and like you said, a walk rate of that is allowing him to get on base that much. But you're right, he is. I think the deciding factor why Gunner's 2. LA has more talent, hasn't really put together. You could flip a coin right now for me, talent wise. They just do different things, but right now it comes from Baltimore's better position than Cincinnati. What's around him, runs and RBIs wise, in a league with this, it's going to bump Gunnar Henderson over him. That's what it comes down to. Then I have Elliott 3 and Mookie Betts at 4. Only because Mookie Betts' situation, it makes it close because Mookie Betts' situation is so much better than Elliott De La Cruz, but Mookie Betts is just in his 30s. Like, very good player, amazing player, can do a lot of things. I just, I'm thinking his season, his averages now are going to be 25 and 25, maybe 22, something like that. Be a very good contact hitter, hit for high average, walk a good clip. But Ellie's going to get you the 60 in a category. He'll match what Mookie does home runs wise and steal 40 more bases. Now he won't have as many runs and RBIs, and he won't has for a better average and won't walk as much. But that's 40 more stolen bases. You know what I mean? Like, I
Mhm.
think that outweighs him doing everything else just a little bit better than Ellie. And Ellie might go toe to toe with him in runs. They're both going to crack 100 just because Ellie's going to run so much and be at the top of a lineup. He's going to
Right.
get himself in scoring position. Just someone make contact behind him and he'll score because he's so fast. But like, it's close between Ellie and Mookie Betts for me. It's really close. And then I have Lindor and Trey Turner in that order. But again, the one that is like, if you're looking at it like a video game that like moves on the pendulum, is Ellie De La Cruz. Ellie's the one that I feel like could fluctuate anywhere on this table. Like you just said, you had him last. I have him second on this thing, but if he was worse than Trey Turner, it wouldn't shock me. Just because that's not a knock on Ellie De La Cruz. That's how good Trey Turner is. It's more of that. Like Ellie has a little bit of gamble to his thing, but if you gamble and miss by a little bit in this scenario, not versus second base or anything else, you're in trouble. Because Trey Turner had a rough year and went 2020. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
rough year and went 2020 after going 26 and 30. Like just had an awful year and went 2020. So like if Trey Turner comes back to any semblance of Trey Turner, Ellie, you better be on it because you're gonna fall to like sixth. And I mean, I think it's crazy that we happen to both leave Corey Seager off this, but I'm comfortable with that just from a Corey Seager playing time. He's shown enough now where he just does not play full seasons. If he played a full season, I would have him in this category above probably, or with on the sliding scale could be above Ellie De La Cruz. But he's had one healthy season since 2016, not counting 2020.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, if you told me he played 150 games, he's probably above Trey Turner. Honestly, he's really up there. Like he's gonna hit 30 home runs, but how healthy he's gonna be. So yeah, I think that's pretty safe. We're probably in agreement there. Ellie, Gunnar, Mookie, Lindor, Trey Turner. That's tier 2 probably.
Yeah, for sure.
Again, twist my arm to draft any of the 5 of them. Like,
oh yeah,
twist my arm. I think what is Trey Turner the lowest he's projected? Going 28th. Ellie De La Cruz is 10th. So they're within 18 picks of each other, around basically.
Yeah. I was trying to formulate something regarding Ellie instead of like a season long versus like a daily or a weekly. But you know what? You're starting him every day. But I think your blood pressure medication intake is going to be less if it's just like a draft and hold or a set it and forget it and it's just a best ball or whatever. Whereas if you're like daily, you're like, man, yeah, he did have 2 stolen bases and a home run 3 days ago, but now he struck out like 7 of his last 12 at bats.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to start the guy that's on my bench that's kind of been hitting. No, I can't.
Yeah,
and it's you're gonna toy with your mind.
Sports Center days, then you're gonna be like,
so he's definitely a guy you're gonna just want to start every day, but you're not going to. So it's just like in certain formats. Well, every format's going to be the same, but in certain formats, you're just gonna have a lower blood pressure than others.
When I rostered him, I just looked at something else. I would let's just see what else the rest of my team's doing because he's just gonna do what he's gonna do. Right. And then you look up and be like 6 stolen bases. Okay, like that's fine. Like that's great, awesome, like amazing. But like me, like you just said, you nailed it perfectly. I don't know if you ever rostered him even, but like you nailed it perfectly. I'd be like, look, he's honestly, I wouldn't even see what he did. It would always be like MLB Twitter or something would be sent to me of something he did, and then I would go look at his day because I want to look at everybody else and not look at his day because I'm just like I want to see a doubleheader where he goes 0 for 8. You know what I mean? Like I just don't want to see it. And then I'd see the day where he's like 2 for 3, a home run and a triple and 4 stolen bases, and I'm like, okay, I'll look because MLB will send me that. I'm like, okay, he did something here. They're like, Ellie De La Cruz is on fire. I'm like, all right, let's go check what my team is doing. Like that's how I knew to check my team on specifically him. But
and who knows? Maybe because the report was he's moving to the outfield, and I don't know if that's going to change with Francona now at the helm. But like maybe that just changes his kind of anxiety. Like he makes a lot of errors at shortstop. He's a big dude. It's kind of, I mean, like. It's not fully on him, but it's just like it's a tough position to be such a gangly freak of an athlete.
I told somebody, one of our friends that we know, and she was like, oh, blah, blah. And I was actually referring to somebody else later that we'll get there. Same basically thing. We've talked about him on last season's podcast, but another person's moving outfield. And I said, it's just harder. You think about it. I'm fielding a ball and I'm 6'7", or I'm 5'8". I mean, I'm not saying everybody 5'8", but it just takes one. It's a pendulum. It takes one longer to get down. And then when you stand back up, you have less time to make the throw. Now, Ellie can throw it really hard, but, often you throw it hard, you throw it's not as accurate. So he has to make it up with speed, and he's hurrying things up. His pendulum is lit. They're longer. There's more room. Like it's just there's a reason that over time, some of it. Now, they could do it, but like you said, like maybe outfielder is just better for that big of a body. Get that stride going in the outfield, like use the stride a little bit more. So, yeah. We'll get to somebody else who fits this basically in this next category, I think. So I'll go next. I think I might have man. I'm almost tempted to put Corey Seager in a tier of his own at tier 3. Because I say it this way. My only question with Corey Seager is health.
Mm-hmm.
Playing, amazing. I know what he is. 30 home runs, 110 RBIs. I don't have to worry about it. Amazing. MVP, hold on, he's 29? 30. Dang it. 30, just turned 30-year-old. It's just health. Stay healthy. You're going to do that. But below that is young guys with a lot of hype obviously
Right.
less than Ellie and these guys, but like I'm not sure what you are, even if you play a full season. So I have Corey Seager right there by himself, tier 3, because he's very different than the guys coming up next. What are
Yeah.
your thoughts on where Corey Seager
I'm
is?
I'm down for that because yeah, you could absorb him up into this that second tier that we talked about if you feel like, hey, he's at least going to play, I don't know, 140 games or just
140
like
games, yeah, easy.
or whatever I get out of him. Hopefully, it's 120 plus. But if whatever I get out of him is going to be better than whatever's below him, and then I'll just kind of use the free agent where maybe I'm in a 12 team and there's a lot of talent in the free agent pool, and I'm cool with that. And at least when he plays, I'm going to
Mhm.
get really good counting stats and power and stuff like that.
I,
Or
I
I'm
mean,
just
it's
like
better than what's
I'm
below him so far. I mean, some of these guys show
sure,
potential to jump him if he plays only
sure,
120 games. But I would say if they both play like 150, there's no way any of these guys below him are leapfrogging him. It's
right,
more, it depends on what Corey Seager is versus what the other guys are. I
yeah.
don't think
Or
any of the other
then
guys have a great year. They're going to jump up into above Corey Seager.
yeah, or I'm risk averse
Yeah.
or I'm
Yeah.
just kind of I would rather take the hype and the
Yeah.
potential and growth of the guys below him, and so I put him into that tier. So yeah, he's kind of this in between, this little gatekeeper between the two kind of genres of shortstops, if you will. It's kind of like this new kind of cluster is next. So yeah, I kind of like him in this sub tier on his own, and it's just like how much risk are you willing to take on?
Yeah. Yep. Pretty much. We can get to the next ones because next guy we could do. I mean, a couple of them. We've already talked about McLean, but we could do it. Goes C.J. Abrams, O'Neal Cruz, Willie Adames. How far do you want to go? Matt McLean, Bo Bichette, probably Bo Bichette down there at number 12, maybe. I that's a pretty big range. I'm more confident on that than because below that there's real questions, but
Yeah,
I'd say that's probably my tier or close to it. Bo Bichette and Matt McLean kind of just make me like a little more weary. But they all have question marks and they all do good things. I mean, C.J. Abrams, a lot of hype. Finally started to the last couple of years just stealing a ton of bases. Has some things to work on, and I mean, we're getting down here. So some blemish, but anytime you steal 40 plus bases, 30 plus bases, and you hit 18 to 20 home runs, that you're fantasy playing. You know, you're in the game. His issue just comes from he plays for Washington, so other stats are definitely lacking. So he's going to hit some solo home runs and steal some bases. Can anybody hit him in? Really, is going to be the question. And they're getting better, but that's why I think C.J. Abrams down here, and then the one that we talk about moving to outfield as well, O'Neal Cruz, still
hmm
eligible, but I guess what are your thoughts? I guess O'Neal Cruz, healthy 2020. That's just a given. He's new 2020. Not a question. It's just how high can he go? He has decent play discipline compared to like he'll take his walks. His batting average won't kill you. A lot of swing and miss, but like we talk about every year on the dad strength, he's hitting it 140 miles an hour, whatever it is at this point. Um, he doesn't take cheap contact. Pirates again. Whatever you're gonna get out of the Pirates surrounding team, they just can't hit very well. But he's gonna. I'm very safe to say he's gonna hit 2020 in a full season. He's moving outfield, might help him, like you said, Ellie, as well. I probably have him higher than CJ Abrams. He's probably my number one in this category, just because I know full season, he's for sure going to get me that. I'd probably say he's 25-25 full season now at this point in his career. Moving to outfield, it'll help. Probably 25-25. Then what happens other than that? What RBIs and runs are you going to give me? So I have him one, and then I have CJ Abrams two in this category. What about you?
Um. Oh, it's so weird that O'Neal Cruz. I look at O'Neal Cruz's profile and I look at Ellie De La Cruz's profile, and the Cruz missiles, if you will. Just one is just a terror on the base paths.
Yeah.
He takes pride in stolen base. It's
Mhm.
just it is crazy. But other than that, if you take stolen bases and you put them to the side, they are virtually the similar same hitter ratios and even like counting stats. It's
And
really
even just
interesting.
literal height. Like,
Yeah.
are they both
See,
6'7"?
maybe yeah, 6'7". I'm on O'Neal Cruz right now. He's
They're both
6'7".
shortstops converted to outfield. Like they're like
Wait a minute. When's their birthday? So I got He's 26, October 98.
Ellie's 23.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
So one's
O'Neal's
a little older than the other.
older. Okay.
It just feels like O'Neal Cruz is same age because he's basically missed 2 of the 4 seasons fully.
Right.
He broke his leg and was done the year before last. So it was just like he's really only played 2 seasons, whereas Ellie's only also played 2 seasons.
Yeah. As far as like CJ Abrams, I'm kind of so like last year, I think we both were like, oh, Pirates could be kind of like a fun lineup. And they're not this year. I checked.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like, sorry, O'Neal, like I'm not really hyped about your potential lineup, but I'm kind of like that same kind of vibe I am on the Nationals this year. I'm like, oh, they could mix things up a little bit. And if they're just going to be, again, like everyone's going to steal a base on our roster again this year, we're going to try to maximize trade value and everything like that. I'm like, CJ Abrams, like, I don't mind that profile. That seems like a pretty decent situation to be in. I feel like this tier I kind of start with CJ.
Mm-hmm.
And then I really don't know what to make of Willie Adames. I'm tepid on the move to San Francisco.
Yeah.
I feel like we've seen what he can do. I just feel like that's on the upper echelon of his percentile outcomes, and I don't know what the average year for him would be. And I'm just like moving to San Francisco kind of might also put a factor in dampening that. I feel like he's a solid fantasy baseball player. I feel like I know what I'm getting for the most part out of him. I'm just, it's probably about 30 home runs, 20 stolen bases. I mean, good counting sacks, good walk rate. I mean, like it's a good shortstop. I would not be bummed or sad. I just feel like the floor is high and the ceiling's probably like like nothing crazy, and I'm okay with it.
I want to piggyback off your Willie Adames. I don't understand Willie Adames. I just don't. Like, he's my blind spot. I get it. I have blind spots with players, but like, I don't get Willie Adames. So looking at it, like I was like, oh, hey, Tampa Bay came out of nowhere, goes to Milwaukee. I'm like, oh, okay, solid leader. I think I rostered him that season. I'm like 25 home runs, last minute pickup, waiver wire, middle infield guy. I'm like, oh yeah, heck yeah, 25 home runs. I have a middle infield guy. Let's do it. Follows it up next year, 31 bombs and Milwaukee, full season Milwaukee, like hits 240, doesn't have amazing discipline, but you're like, okay, there we go. He has better play discipline. Batting average drops 20 points with more select hitting, but then hits 6 less home runs. I'm like, what? The profile should have been better, but he did way worse across the board. He does the exact same thing the next year, hits 8 more home runs and hits 40 points better. I'm like, what are you doing? You're getting better. The numbers get worse. You do the same thing. You basically just run it back, and you're like, this is how it should have been. So I'm like, who are you? Like, I don't like everything stays the same, and you fluctuated 3 years in a row now, like wildly. And I'm just like, I don't. Are you the 219 hitter or the 260 hitter? I don't know. Who are you? Like, what is happening here? Because they were all the same for 3 years, and then you're walking 30 times versus 74 times. Like, how am I supposed to keep track? And then
Right.
you're right. I think going to San Francisco will obviously hurt him, but I still think in San Francisco, he I've doubted him for so long. He's 29. He is a solid baseball player. He's the guy in this tier. I think after CJ Abrams and O'Neal Cruz have the talent, they're just so much more talented. They're above. I still say Willie Adames is in this tier, and these other two guys, but those two have this like the most talent of this tier. I feel like so they're up here, and Willie Adames is like, hey, if you don't want to take the risk of those two, you got enough risk somewhere else. Willie Adames is fine. He's a 10th shortstop going off the board. He's a capable starting shortstop for you. I think in San Francisco, it is not. It is basically the land of good players. I don't know if there's any great players, but they're good players. Josh Donaldson we talked about probably has his max year, but you talked about liking him. He's gonna hit 20 home runs, but he's just not gonna do anything crazy. But it's just a bunch of serviceable baseball players on a team. And Willie Adames is gonna fit right in there, hit 25 home runs, be serviceable. He is a good floor piece for this tier at this 10th shortstop taken. And then for me after that comes Matt McLain and Bo Bichette. Matt McLain of the whole like, who are you? You just kind of got a rough little, or not a rough, good little 90 games. They were really nice. Who are you? We can't, don't want to go higher with you from 90 games. And then Boba Fett of like, that's who are you? Like, just who are you
Who
anymore?
who were
Like,
you?
yeah, like, is that still there? I mean, because clearly it's still there. You did it. Like, he did it. He was that guy.
Hmm.
Is it ever going to come back? Is the question. Because, like, I mean, just in 2021, we're talking MVP vote. Like, didn't he get like fourth or something in the MVP voting or something like that? What, 30, 25 with like 100, and 300? And then this last year, he follows it up with half a season of 4 home runs and five stolen bases. It's on pace for 8 and 10 in a full
Hmm.
season.
Yeah.
The MVP guy's still there, but like, is it ever going to come back? Is the real question. And so that's why he's at the bottom, because like, I know, like, beyond this, it goes Tovar, Volpe, Bogarts, Win. Boba Fett did it. There's something to be said about doing it. And even his follow up year was after that was still a very good baseball player. Still hit like 20 something home runs, 11 or 15 stolen bases, 280. Like, very good player. Leads and walks, does all these things. Like, a very good player. Did it multiple years. Maybe not MVP for 1 year, but like multiple years as a very good baseball player. Deserved to be all stars, all that jazz. So the talent's there. Just Tovar and Volpe haven't ever shown that. So I give him the floor above those other guys because I'm like, it's it. You've done it.
Hmm.
Can you ever do it again? Because if he doesn't, then he continues to fall down this thing. But that's where my tier is. I'm like, it ends at Boba Fett because I've seen you be top 5 in MVP before. And he's still very young. Like, it's not like you're top 5, like Paul Goldschmidt, like, when you were 28. Boba Fett's 26 now. We're talking like he aged out of baseball. He's 26. He's not old. Like, I feel like this is a Toronto issue. You should be able to get more out of this guy than what you're doing. So he's the bottom of my tier for that. Just because it's been such a dramatic, like, what is happening.
Right. Yeah. I'm intrigued by Matt McClain. I feel like, yeah, prove it, do it again, because like what you did in AAA was awesome and amazing, and
What he did in the pros too. No, I mean, honestly,
right. I mean, it's just like, but the sample in AAA and why he got to the major is just like, it was a 1100 OPS. Like, it was just ridiculous, and he kept that momentum and like really well. It's like, okay, do it again, and I'll give you like a mini tier right under Seager, because like I feel like the power and the runs and like everything, it's just a little bit more of could be more of a complete profile in this tier. So there might be like a value pick there if he can keep up that pace and all the ratios and everything.
If he does that for a full season, he goes 35 and 30. He's above Perry Seager.
Right.
I know you said no. Like, I'm like, he does that for a full season. His ratios, oh my gosh, like, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty intriguing.
And 90 games is not nothing. It's not like he played a month. Like, he played half the season. Like,
it's a legit sample.
Yeah, so he
but
just right now for me, he played 90 games. I know Willie Adames, O'Neal Cruz. My question with O'Neal Cruz has to be healthy. We know what he can do when he's healthy. 2020 guaranteed. 25 probably 25. CJ Abrams has done it a couple of years. He's going to steal you 30 bases if he's healthy. And Willie Adames has that floor. He's going to hit you 25 home runs. Matt McClain, it's like, how much playing time do you get? Because if he just plays the full season, does anything close to that, he's going to leapfrog all the guys we just mentioned. He's going to be up there.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have to do that exact ratio. He just has to do almost that for a full season, and he's up, like you said, at Corey Seager, slightly below him. Because, yeah, Matt McClain had a really nice 90 games. Does he have multiple positions as well? Yes, second base and shortstop. We're like, with Mookie Betts being that high, you're probably also playing him at second base, but we can kind of like, they're shortstop primarily, but yeah.
Right. The one thing I do say about Willie Adames is I don't know what to make of the stolen bases, because that came out of the blue. Like everything else, I'm like, I think I believe it. It seems legit. We know he's got the power of the last 4 years. We know what he's capable of. I think we know, his walk rate's usually right around 10 K rate. Like all the other stuff is just like, where did 21 stolen bases come from? Are you going to do it again, especially in a different team? So That's the only
That's
question
why
mark.
when I always say him, I always say home runs. I didn't even say anything about stolen bases because I don't know what to make
Right.
of that. Like
Right.
since 2019, he stole more than 5 bases one time, and it was 8. And then before that, at 2018, he stole 6. Like so, and
Mm-hmm.
then 21. So you have to steal more than 5 for me to even consider this. To even look at that category, for you, really, honest, like to even have that conversation. So that's why I was like, it's only home runs. I don't care what you do with stolen bases for 1 year. You got to do something else. You know what I mean? So you've got to do it again. So,
Right.
but he does it again, then that only increases the value. But I'm not banking on any of that. I'm not baking any of this into where you are ranked right now, Willie.
Mm-hmm.
But what? So you like Matt? What do you think of Bo Bichette? He's right now going the 12th second shortstop. All these people that may not say you're gonna again play all these guys. Some have second base eligibility, but like just all the guys who are eligible to play shortstop. He is number 12. So probably if people are playing Mookie Betts at second, things like that, he's going to be projected right now an everyday or at least a starter opening day for someone's fantasy team in a 12-team league. I'm not comfortable with that. You're probably not either. But what do you think of Bo Bichette?
I want to. Yeah. I feel like he's in this tier. He's almost kind of like that Corey Seager, where I'm just like he's kind of like this sub tier. How many plate appearances are you going to get out of him? How much is he going to play? Because 2022 and 2023, like those are legit solid shortstop years. I'm okay with 20 some home runs and well, I guess 13 or 5 stolen base, kind of
But
flip a
he's
coin.
still
But
hitting like average league. He's still basically hitting 300. I mean, if you're in an
oh
average
yeah,
league, that's really nice. Yeah.
oh yeah. So it's just I'm not really sure. I don't know how healthy he's going to be, but like his Savant in 2023 is painted red, and his in 2022 it's painted red. I mean, it's just I know what he can be. I know he's capable of. I just don't. It's the Corey Seager thing, which is like, how much are you going to play?
Yeah, I don't. We're supposed to be telling these people what to draft. I don't know what to do with shit. I really don't. I, I, I would love so like right. I guess ideally, my situation I would love if he fell and I could stash him.
Yeah,
But 111, I'm not drafting a stash guy. You know what I mean? He's or 130, 130. He's projected. We're talking around 11. I'm not. I'm not taking a stash guy in round 11. You know,
right.
like unless something crazy's happened in the draft, I have no pitchers and I'm already stashing guys, but something's falling off the rails at that point. So I if he fell, 40 spots, then we could talk about it. But barring him dropping 40 spots, which I don't know if that's going to happen, because someone's going to be able, like, I'll take a gamble on him as my starting shortstop at some point. Barring that, I don't foresee me rostering Bo Bichette. I will do a lot of things to avoid having him be my opening day shortstop.
Okay. So if you go with that, because right now he's 12 overall
Yeah.
in shortstop rankings, you pass him up, you wait for some other value later in the draft. If we get to the next tier guys, is there someone that you're eyeing or
So my thing would be I am going hard on one of the top 10 in my top 10. My top 10. So Willie Adames is 10. I probably have Matt McClain above him in my personal top 10. Like I'm just
Mhm.
like, like one of those guys. I'm hammering one of those. But let's say something, heaven forbid, I don't get that one. Then I'm a little panicky. I might go with something more safe that I know is just gonna like hammer some playing time, like a Carlos Correa. Like not like as in he's gonna play a whole lot, but like I know who Carlos Correa is when he plays. Like a good player when he plays. I just
Mhm.
need to. I need to be like, can I get 90 good games out of somebody on this list? And Carlos Correa will give me that. He'll give me 90 at least. Can I find 50 or 70 games of somebody else after that? I'll cross that bridge and find like a backup later on down. But I need someone who's going to play me half a season good at bats, and that's Carlos Correa down here. If you're asking me to find I could draft Xander Bogaerts, but I think you were kind of hoping for someone lower than that, right? Is that kind of what you were getting at, or is it just like I like Volpe? Can I just take Volpe? He's right below. Is that what you do?
Yeah,
Like,
well, I mean, like because at this point, I feel like it really opens up. I still feel like there's a lot of names that are
yeah,
definitely you would be good with on your team, but it's just like the tier. If we just try to relate this to tiers, like it really gets really broad and it goes a lot of different directions. It might be just based on team need,
Yeah,
but if I'm just
it's
saying, if you pass Bichette, unfortunately, you didn't get anyone before him.
yeah.
Who
I think there's a
who's
lot. I like a lot of the young guys. I like taking gambles. So my two, if I could pick anyway below, because I kind of went lower down to be like, like if I really miss on somebody, the two I want are Volpe and Win. I think what Mason Wynn did in his a full season age 21, going
mhm,
15-11, hitting 270 in the majors is a big. Like a lot of people expect a lot of things at like 20-year-olds right now, and the guy became legal to drink and did very well and held his own. He's growing up still. He so like I think he's only going to get better, and I think that like 20 and 18 is not out of the realm of question for this season for him. And if I could get that guy as like below, get him, where's he projected to go right now? 180? Yeah. Round 16, my starting
mhm.
shortstop. I'm totally comfortable with a guy going 2015, 2018 in that round and fill out the rest of the roster somewhere else. Same with Volpe. I like Volpe. He's going a little higher, but he's done 2020 already, at one point in his career. Uh, he bounced back more than I thought. The power just went away a little bit. I think that's a
Mhm.
blip. I think he has power. I think it's just kind of a blip. He got off to a slow start home run wise and picks it up. So I think the home run will come back. So I think he'll be 2020 again. Right there, Volpe. He's just more expensive. 40 more picks more expensive than Win. But I guess my number one is Volpe followed by Mason Win. That's number two there. If I miss on Bo Bichette.
Yeah, I can get with when I am agreeing with you there. Um, I guess in terms of just yeah, who would be my next like my safety net in case I'm like, oh, I I don't want to take Bichette this high. I've missed out on all the shortstops. I'm gonna stick to wanting to get value, and then all of a sudden someone takes him, and I'm like, well, I do still need a shortstop, and I don't know.
You like Zach Neto? Angels?
I'm okay with Neto. I feel like that Angel every year. It's like, man, that Angels lineup could be really solid. I don't, and
I feel
I
like
keep
who does well in the Angels lineup changes though. Like
yeah,
you're always like, man, if Neto or somebody else can do this, and then you're like, oh, they kind of turn back into a pumpkin, and they did this, and then it's like one other guy pops off, and then you're like, okay, well then what about this guy comes back and he never comes back, and then the other guy, a new guy pops off, and you're like, I don't know. He did it. He quietly went 23-30, like the quietest. You know what I mean? Like, but it's just like he doesn't have, doesn't walk a lot. They're not gonna hit anybody in. Like it's the Angels. They still got I get your point of like that, but until the Angels it's one of those things of like until they do it, I can't give them the credit for it. So I just assume their offense will be bad. Like other than Mike Trout, they have a lot of guys who could. But you gotta do it. At some point, as a team, have to just be a good offense. And until it happens, I'm gonna be like, I don't trust you for runs and guys until I see it happen. Like I just,
yeah.
yeah,
Although I'm
I
looking at his profile, shoulder surgery in November, and
still a young guy though, 24.
yeah,
So
he's
I'm
on
not,
track. I didn't realize that
yeah,
he could potentially have to look into it more, but playing time, I don't know if he's going to start the season. Good
yeah.
news on whether he'd be ready for opening day. Hasn't been cleared to throw. So we'll kind of wait and see how spring training unfolds. Okay, anyway. Um, yeah, I'm good. I'm good with a lot of different guys. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of guys that can go like 2015
Yeah.
and get some counting stats. Um, that I feel like I have a soft spot for Dansby Swanson. I don't know why. It's just like I feel like that's a good line. I mean, like I kind of gravitate towards okay, who can do the
Yeah.
2015? A lot of these guys. Okay,
Yeah.
who's in a good lineup to get some good counting stats around that? Okay, I'll pick and choose, and
I feel
like
like the San Francisco Giants, they're very solid lineup top to bottom. I think we talked about last week. Yeah, they're
mhm.
very solid. They don't have a lot of holes. He's my Carlos Correa. He's like a Carlos Correa who will play the full. I think if Carlos Correa at 90 games is going to put the same numbers Dansby Swanson does at 150. Like they're going to go 20 something and 20 something. Like, maybe Carlos Correa doesn't get 20 stolen bases anymore, but he'll both hit 20 home runs in half a season. But just Carlos Correa won't play a full season. Like, that's just what it
Mm-hmm.
goes. But there's something to be said about Dansby Swanson going out there every day for a full season, not hurting you fantasy wise. When you're drafting the 20th shortstop overall, you're drafting a middle infielder, or you're a guy that absolutely, like, there is value in just not having a black hole at a spot. And Dansby Swanson's not a black hole. That's absolutely true. He walks pretty good too, doesn't he? If I remember correctly. That's 60 walks ish the last couple of years. Yeah, absolutely. I just don't.
Yeah, 9%. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just sorry. I got really thrown. I didn't want to go down the rabbit hole. But I'm like on the projections on Fangraphs. Marcus Semien is listed and as a shortstop, and I'm like, okay, the dude played 159 games at second base last year. I'm not sure how you get any shortstop eligibility.
That's even bad for Yahoo. Who's giving him eligibility?
Sorry, I got sidetracked. I was like, what's he doing? I mean, I know he's played there before, but didn't play there last year, so he's going to lose eligibility for 2025.
I think if this position, not shockingly, if the top 12 or even you could say the top 16 guys have a full season, I'd say about 16. There are guys who legitimately every single one of them could go 2020. I feel like maybe Bogarts isn't getting 20 stolen bases, but I think that, like, if everyone play a full Corey Seager's probably not gonna get 20, but in general, you know what I mean? Like, all top 16 guys are very good players if they just kind of reach their potential, do their thing. Like, it could be very good. It could be a very deep year for the shortstop because they've got a lot of top talent, but like it could get really deep real fast. Like we just talked about roughly, just like we're like, man, I don't know about Zach Neto, and at 23 in his first full season, again we went 23 and 30, and we're saying I don't know, like he's projected to be the 18th shortstop. So like it's really deep. I feel like at shortstop. So there's a couple of guys even down here that we talked about like that. There's a lot to be excited about. I guess to summarize, I really want one of the top 10 guys, but like there's a lot of depth here. So taking a gamble on a Corey Seager is not the end of the world because there's a lot of guys with a lot of talent further down here that I need someone to play 50 games. Sign me up for 50 games of Anthony Volpe. Like that is not going to be a bad thing. Might even get more playing time in your utility if he plays like what people could think about, or Mason Wynn, or Bo Bichette figures it out. Tovar, even we didn't even talk about Tovar. A guy hits in Colorado. End of story. You know what I mean? Like he's gonna hit 20 home runs. Like what else does he do? Like there's a lot of guys who can play 50 games for you, and unlike a lot of other positions, 50 games from a lot of these guys down here, you're like, this isn't going to sink me. I'm fine here. I'm fine for half a season or, X, Y, and Z with these position players.
Right. Yeah.
Like even Jeremy Payne down at 19. I mean, 15 and 20, like in a Houston lineup still, like,
yep.
That's not killing you. That is not killing you for 50 games.
Yeah, I don't mind that. There's somewhere I'm just like kind of like, no, I don't think I'm gonna draft an Xavier Edwards. I think that's a name where I feel like it's a lot higher than I would like, but that's a guy who's only stolen bases, and the counting stats are gonna be like super low. That's a scary bad lineup in Miami, and so I'm just like, that's all it's gonna do is he's gonna hit for a decent average and get a ton of stolen bases. Like, no thanks. Like it's too empty and everything else to be worth it. So
JT, we talked about the 1 through 20 guys, every guy by name except for number 17, who's Xavier Edwards, for a reason. I skipped him. I mentioned everyone's name at this point except for number 17.
We try to keep things positive around here.
I was like, I'm not gonna draft. I'm gonna have 0 shares of Edwards. Let's put it that way this year.
Yeah.
Hey, he wants to go buck wild and steal a ton of bases, like more than what he did. Goes like 60 stolen bases or something like that. He's on pace for 60 something. I'm like, we'll have a conversation for a full season. You hit 330 with 70 stolen bases. Okay, like, you know what I mean? Like, you'll come up some lists, you know what I mean? Like, we'll have the chat. I mean, you're going to do nothing else, but anytime you're approaching a 7 and a 0 in any category that's not, RBIs or runs, you're going to draw my eyes a little bit. You're going to get some eyeballs, but you got to do it for more than 70 games. Because even then, the year before, he didn't do a whole lot with his 30 game sample size. But like, yeah, there was a reason we had the two of us had not mentioned. I
Yeah.
specifically had mentioned all 20 people by name except for number
Oh
17.
yeah.
So
And
he is not on my radar at all. 0% chance.
yeah,
I mean, I'd never say 1%. Let's say 1.
we try to keep things up on the
Yeah.
positive. It's not like I'm going to
Yeah.
badmouth the guy who rhymes with Shmiko Warner. I'm not going to like talk about
you've
how
already taken shots at him before.
yeah, I'm not going to talk about how I avoid him. Like it's not worth it. Yeah.
Nico Horner played 80 more games and stole the same number of stolen bases. So if you're drafting for stolen bases only, Edwards is the way to go. Let's put it that way. Just draft Edwards. If you're gonna draft Nico Horner, just draft Edwards. Honestly,
it's weird for me to see. I'm going to change the topic here. Trevor Story. I have no idea what to make of Trevor Story because I've kind of forgot he still is a Major League Baseball player.
Is he? Where's he playing?
Well, at this point,
well, like, what position does he have?
Shortstop? Question mark.
I'm like, is he like?
I don't know. It's just I feel bad for him. I mean, at least Chris Sale, has bounced back. But in terms of like going to Boston and being like a complete shell of yourself, like this takes the cake. And it's
hold on. Doesn't take the cake. There's one other person, our first pick in our best ball league. He takes the cake of being as soon as you go to another team. Anthony Rendon.
Yeah,
but I get what you're saying. Like, yeah, he's probably number 2.
Yeah. Did you see his breaking news today?
He's having hip surgery. Major hip surgery.
Like, great timing. February hip surgery.
Yeah.
He's in it to win it.
Before team's report. Yeah.
For the love of the game.
Man, I did see a gif of someone like AI'd him like having a gun to a doctor, like, you're gonna give me this hip surgery, basically. But
oh my gosh.
But yeah, I don't. Trevor Story, I don't know. I don't know.
It's not worth drafting. I just like I see him on as a 25th overall. I'm like, well, in a 15-team league, you say he's middle infield worthy. I don't get it. I don't understand. I'd rather have Bryson Stott. I mean, like, they're named right next to him. I'd rather have both either Kim Hae-Seong Kim or Ha-Seong Kim. Like, I don't know. It's just like Tyler Fitzgerald. Like, it's just I don't understand is it just name value? Like, I completely I feel like I'm missing it so bad that I'm like second guessing myself.
I mean, even David Hamilton, who played for him at shortstop, at least like pumped out a lot of stolen bases in like half a season. 33. Like, and I'm just gonna say this here. He hold on, let me double check. He hit last year in 90 games, hit 3 more home runs than Trevor Story did in the last 2 seasons combined. I just, at a certain point, like, it's getting worse and not better. And I'm just like, my goodness. My goodness. I don't. I would say the Bo Bichette thing of like, it's there, but like, this isn't Bo Bichette of being 24 and being washed. Or 26. I can't remember how old Bo Bichette is. 26 and washed. Trevor Story's on the other side of 30, pushing 33. Like, are you ever going to be back there again is a legitimate question. Could you even be a 20 home run guy? Is he more as a question? I don't know. I'm obviously not drafting him, but that was rough.
Yeah. But if I'm keeping with the Boston theme, now that Bregman signs in Boston, I am kind of bummed for like my Christian Campbell hopes. Like, it's just one extra.
I don't think that stops Christian Campbell. I think the talent is superseding Trevor Story. Period. I think if Campbell does enough, he's going to get the job.
Okay.
That's how I view it. Or at least that's how I think major league teams should view it, and I think that's how Boston does. You're the best guy, you're going to play. I don't
Right.
care if we gave Trevor Story all this money, he ain't done nothing for us. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you're next guy, you're the big next dude coming up. Just get some playing time, man. Let's go.
Yeah, it's quite the hill to climb because it's
Oh,
just
you're referencing this year.
yes, in
This
because I
specific
mean
year,
it's
probably not. But I just think in general, I don't think because Alex Bregman's there for 3 years. I think he's just gonna play. I think they're gonna
yeah,
figure it out later. Sign the player, figure it out later.
yeah. His Christian Campbell, I just don't know. It's going to have to be injuries that
Yeah.
pave the way. I
You mean
just
to
don't
tell me
see
that
how
injuries
the
might affect Trevor Story?
yeah.
Like,
Well, I'm just saying,
yeah,
like
I know.
the opportunity to playing
Yeah,
time. I believe in
yeah,
Christian Campbell. I
yeah.
mean, he's got the roster invite. He's just not on the 40 man. He would have to play ahead of Vaughn Grissom, who's on the 40 man. He'd have to get ahead of David Hamilton, um, and what Romy Gonzalez. Where is oh, and I guess I was thinking. Well, Rafaela played some shortstop. They've got him in center field right now on this.
I just think it's one of
Um,
those like he shows out in spring training. They're like, look, you're gonna play. Like you're just gonna play. Like Trevor Story, you've had 3 years to figure it out,
yeah,
and I'm not gonna sit here and wait for you. Again, he's gonna be 33. You're gonna be better at 33 than you were at 29 when we signed you. I don't. You're going down the wrong way. Let the kid cook, as the kids say. Did I say that right?
yeah, nailed it.
Got it. Nice.
All right. Any other big names that stand out? Throw a dart, high, low, somewhere in
No,
between.
not really. Not that we. I'm scrolling one more time.
I was like, oh, this person, their high is like and low, their standard deviation is 0. I was like, oh, that's interesting being way down here. Like, and
Who
I
was
was like,
that?
oh, Javi Baez
Oh,
is best and worst. He's 51st
if your
overall. I was
team
like,
needs a
oh,
laugh, draft Javi Baez.
right. Oh man,
You already mentioned Kim. Interesting, if nothing else. If I want Bryson Stott again, interesting. Don't know if I want to go that far. Tommy Edmonds, anybody who plays for the Dodgers, this just has value. They just have value because that lineup is like two guys that might not hit 30. You know what I mean? Like, and you just get on base and someone's gonna hit a home run. I just feel like the
well,
Dodgers. So
was it Tommy M? Was he like kind of a small unsung hero? Was it the playoffs or in the
yeah,
last month of the season
yeah,
or
he played
both?
really well with the Dodgers.
Like, yeah, like
So
that'll pay dividends.
I just saying like. If someone's like Tommy Edmonds had a good season, I'm like colored me shocked. That
Hmm.
Dodgers hit balls far, like just okay, like he scores like 110 runs. You're like, all right, I see it, cool. Actually, he was on pace for 100 runs if he played a full season. Now I'm looking at it, 20 runs in 30 games. Yeah, that checks out to ridiculousness.
All right.
I just did some quick math there. Okay, he was definitely on pace for that. Uh, yeah, I think we talked about everybody that I like down below. So yeah,
I I have a couple
yeah,
questions on a couple. Um, I'm seeing like a Colson Montgomery. He's a top prospect for the White Sox. Probably will be either on the opening day roster or a quick call up after that. You know, they want to play him enough to get the whole rookie of the year voting
yeah,
and the
yeah.
pick. Like it makes sense to do that. Now, in that is that move the needle for you? Intrigued by the profile at all? If he was your back, like a middle infield on like a deep 15 team league, would you
I
be willing to like throw a really late dart on it?
um, I haven't been as big of a Colton Montgomery guy, or but yeah, Colson Montgomery. Sorry, I think I called him Colt. Um, I haven't been that much, to be honest. He isn't a giant needle mover for me, and he plays for the White Sox, so probably not.
Hmm.
I'm not gonna be. I guess let's put it this way. I'm not gonna be the one to be on the cutting edge of. There's a lot of guys that I like coming up, and I'm usually pretty aggressive on the young kids, but he's not
Yeah.
one of them.
Yep.
I guess that's the best way to put it.
No, I got you. His future value is not an 80. It's probably actually I have it right here.
What do they have? What do they have it at?
55. So
that's good. Good player.
Slightly above
Yeah.
average.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
at the
That's
peak of
probably
his
what I say
career.
too. And slightly above average on the White Sox. I don't. You know what I mean? At shortstop, where we already talked about, it's pretty deep. I don't know if that's moving the needle for me.
Right. Also here I have a Geraldo Perdomo way down here, but you know what? I'm like, what about Blaze? You know, I feel like where the Diamondbacks are, they would rather probably take old reliable Perdomo, bat him ninth, and get the defense out of it. But I'm just like, well, if he goes down, I'd be willing to see what Blaze could do. I feel like he had a small stint here and there of recent note and never really got anything going, but the hype is there, and I obviously would just put a flyer on him and tag him on a watch list of mine, and I'd be intrigued by it. I don't think I need to draft him, but it's just like a name where I'm just like, if you got playing time in that good of a lineup, like that could be worth it.
I like Blaze. I rostered Blaze last year for limited time.
Okay.
So I like Blaze more than Colson. For this year, let's be clear. But yeah, it's more it's just they hit really well. The Diamondbacks do. I just don't know how his path for a lot of the bats, I guess. But if you told me he played a full season or a good chunk of the season, I really like the makeup at player wise. So
right.
I'd be interested. I don't know if I ever pull the trigger on rostering him at least off the bat until he got hot. But I like the player. What recently strikes out? What probably I'm looking at right now, 28% of the time, walks almost 9. Yeah, I like that. There's some other stuff we could work with there. Yeah, I still like everything he's done. I was a little disappointed. I think I rostered him going into last year. Didn't go as well as I thought it would, but he's 25. Career's not over. You know what I mean? Like, let's see what he can do in another year. So yeah, I'm definitely still like Blaze, and like kudos for the name too. But let me just come on.
I see like a Marco Luciano down here, and I would have been a little bit more amped for him, but with the signing of Willy Adames, I don't.
Yep.
I mean, he's on the 40 man at least, so I mean, it's worth just like, hey, just in case something comes up down the road. But I don't think we're drafting.
I feel like hold on. I feel like I'm get out of here. I feel like I'm having a brain fart with the Giants for a second. Hold on, let me double check here, make sure I'm reading that right. Okay. Are they really gonna play Tyler Fitzgerald every day at second? I know, but it was like, how many games did he play? Like 40 last year? Is he really gonna Like, is he really gonna block? Is he really gonna block him? Flip a guy to second base or something like that and like block him for Tyler Fitzgerald. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I don't know what to make of GM Posey. I don't know if things are going to operate differently. That's true.
First kind of real season now of GM Posey. He's had his off season, but I don't know what type of GM he is. That's true. Yeah, like, gambling on that, like, I would love the player, but I just don't know. It's more of a gamble of who Posey is. Yeah, we don't know. Interesting. Yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah, I honestly, for that reason alone, I don't want to dip my toes in the water because who knows if he plays this season. I think it's a mistake. I mean, if Tyler Fitzgerald goes out and kills it like he did in his limited sample size, absolutely do your thing. I don't know if that's real, but I'm rooting for him. 26-year-old rookie, 27-year-old rookie, absolutely, that would be great. But I don't know if I'd bet on it. And then how long do you sit on a guy like Tyler Fitzgerald? Because they don't really have a lot of other options, that I feel good about. I guess.
Yeah.
So let the kids play.
Yeah. The only other one where I'm just like, you know what, I could see myself taking a flyer on, like Orlando Arcia. Put him in my middle infield in a deep 15-team league. He's batting ninth. He's going to bat in front of that monster lineup when it flips over back up to the top.
Yep.
I think he's still got some good days ahead of him. They don't really have anyone knocking on the door behind him. They trade him away. His name was Vaughn Grissom, a year ago. So I'm just like, like he when in need, I could see that.
I mean, I brought up Tommy Edmonds is the 9 hitter for the Dodgers.
Yeah,
Same thing.
exactly.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
yep, same
Um,
situation. Like,
the,
got a little bit more pop, but you just need to get on base. You just need to get on base, and
yeah.
the rest they'll do it for you. So
And
absolutely,
then,
everything I said about Tommy Evans is the same.
yeah,
Different makeup, I guess, but like it's the same principle. You have like monsters coming up behind you. Ps, like kind of the same situation. You have multiple MVPs coming up behind you if you just get on base, and there you go. Yeah,
yeah.
everything agreed. Yep.
The,
People are gonna call us crazy for mentioning 2 9 hitters. I'm like, it's not about just that. It's not about what this guy does. The guys behind him are gonna be the ones that get those runs. Like,
mhm,
and I'm sorry, but like there might not be as much in this, but like if I'm on a base path, I'm the pitcher, and I'm the Dodgers, and Tommy Edmonds is on first, and there's no outs. I'm not going to be super worried about keeping Tommy Edmonds on, as I have effing Mookie Betts MVP, followed by Freddie Freeman MVP, followed by Shohei Ohtani MVP. Like I'm more worried about the guys hitting the ball over the wall than keeping Tommy Edmonds at first. You know what I mean?
right,
Like I make a mistake, and one of these 3 MVPs is hitting over the wall. Same with the Braves. Oh, I might have Ronald Acuna just doing what Ronald Acuna does, or Matt Olson, or like I
right,
could go on for Riley. Like I could just go on forever with this stuff. Like you can't. I know there's a lot made of like, oh, they don't take your time. They do. They have to take some focus away from your bat. And if I'm the manager, I'm like, I don't care about RC or Tommy Edmonds. Don't let the guy hit it. Don't let him go crazy, because that's how the inning gets out of control. You let Mookie Betts hit a double. You hit Acuna hit a single. Now it's first and third. Acuna steals second. It's second and third. No outs now. And now you have Matt Olson. You know what I mean? Like you're in trouble. Like that's how an inning gets out of control. Just
right.
get the guy out in front of you. Let him steal second. And I'm like, that's gonna happen. We talk about these new rules coming up, more stolen bases. Like I'm just telling you, that's gonna let these 2 guys at the bottom of the lineup move along a little bit. Maybe not RC as much, but still, like it's just they're not going to be as focused on him. They're not going to be as focused on him at the 9 hole versus the guys coming up. It's just what it is. So, yeah, I agree. I
Yeah.
agree.
I kind of also, side note, Arizona, I forgot about Jordan Lawler. I don't
I
know.
think
I'd
we're in
rather.
line. I also talked about Jordan. I also looked at Jordan Lawler.
Mhm,
I did roster Jordan Lawler as well last year.
yeah.
I was big on Jordan Lawler as well. I like Arizona Diamondbacks hitters. What can I say?
Sure, yeah. Other
Yeah.
than Perdomo. Like, hey, Perdomo,
Well,
could
and
you
it's
just
funny
like,
because I rostered the 2 guys who are the only 2 who didn't play very well for the
yeah,
Diamondbacks.
yeah,
So like, I mean, I did
yeah,
roster Clay and Carroll, so there's that. But like, I'm like those 2 guys and Lawler and Blaze, and I'm like, oh. And then at the start of the season, man, are you telling me that looked like I got 0 for 3 on that one? It's like, oh no. But so yeah, I am a fan of Diamondbacks players, prospects, young guys, absolutely, like at all. That's funny. I'm not as big on Gino, but I'm big on all the young Diamondbacks hitters. And I liked Christian Walker, but he left. But still, I still like all the Diamondbacks guys.
yeah, for sure.
I think that's
I
it.
think that kind of wraps it up. There was,
Yeah.
there's maybe, well, there's like 3 names, but there's definitely one I wanted to call Matt Shaw. Matt Shaw, big prospect, big power, big speed. Um, Probably one of those like should be right around the opening day, if not maybe later in April. Um, could see good things out of him. Just if they give him playing time, like it probably is going to be really good. That could be really interesting.
I heard a podcast with someone with a Cubs insider talking about they weren't as aggressive with Alex Bregman
Ooh,
because of Matt Shaw.
oh, there you go. Yeah,
So I don't
exactly.
know specifically what that means, and I don't think they did either. But sooner rather than later is how I took that.
Yeah, and
I also
then
like Brooks Lee a little bit. FYI, Minnesota.
I was going to say that, and then Brooks Lee, and I was going to tie in Jacob Wilson. How
Yep.
much playing time are they gonna? Or no, how? Sorry,
Yep.
how are they gonna develop?
Yep.
What do they look like? Like starting off the full year in the major leagues.
Yep. Yep.
The playing time question, I was going to shout out Josh Smith in Texas. If he
Mm-hmm.
plays, I want him rostered.
Yep.
Like if he's a regular player, I want him rostered somehow. He's got multi-position eligibility. And then Luis Angel Acuna of the Mets, if he plays, kind of intriguing. But but in that regard, I don't think he will. We talked about the other, in front of a Matt and then Beatty, and then so it's just like I don't know. So we'll have to.
Benuto, yeah, there's a lot of. Are they giving up on Beatty because he didn't play as well? But like, I feel like it's still too early to give up on Beatty.
Right.
So yeah,
Yeah.
the question comes if they trade Beatty, then it becomes like, okay, now there may be a little bit more of a because they're going to give Beatty some more shots first. You don't want to write off. How old is Beatty? Off the top of your head, do you know? He's still really young. I would guess 24.
5.
Oh, okay. I mean, so yeah, I just feel like it's still really early to. Oh man, where did he end up at? I can't find him now.
Bummer.
There he is.
His RotoWire news is Beatty is likely to be a reserve for the Mets and now go back to the minors following the signing of Pete Alonso.
That's right there. I just read that. So
sorry,
don't worry about Brett Beatty then.
Yeah. All right, cool. I feel like we touched on a lot of names, and I think as we should. Shortstop, like we said, after that certain kind of like teens, like you can just make up your own tier. Who do you want to just kind of have fun and jump on the bandwagon? And
this is the deep position. I mean, obviously outfield is, but this is the one where it's like there's a lot of dudes here. There's a lot of dudes who you can see going popping off at this position.
Yeah. It's pretty interesting. So let us know what you think about shortstop. We're at Fantasy Dad Pods on the X, on the Twitter. But yeah, speaking of outfield, we got outfield next week.
There we go. And then I mean after that, I think the best part of what this podcast is, we're all about those arms, baby.
Woo.
Those studs on the mound after that. I can't wait for that. Love some outfield though. Love some studs running around out there.
Stallions.
I'm just sad we didn't get JT's hot take. He had Mets had to ruin it. So about Juan Soto, I'm just still disappointed.
I'll try to come up with something else, maybe.
You're just gonna come with hot takes for hot take's sake.
Just cause. Just there like to keep it spicy, like Terry Francona. Shout out.
So they call it white hot. This might be like it's on Big Bang Theory where they say like I've heard it's called brain fart. The Big Bang Theory, I don't watch that show, but they call it like something else, like where you have like a mental block of just like everyone knows these things, but like certain people just don't know. A common sense thing. Does fire when it gets really hot turn white? I mean, I've seen blue.
Right.
You just hear the expression "white hot," but like, does it get white when it's so hot?
I don't even know if it would be fire. My first inkling was like making swords, and you're like beating the metal over and over.
Okay.
Something like the whatever material gets so hot it's white.
Yeah.
Of course, it's probably would turn. Well, I feel like it'd be like red, but I feel like it could go to white eventually if you get it too hot.
I'm looking it up. It's from the 1457, but I don't know why they said it. But yeah.
Oh wait, is it referencing white hot embers?
Like it might, and that's what I'm saying. Like when I think of heat, the meaning white hot is being radiating white heat, bright light, indicative of bright light produced when an object is heated to extreme temperature. So probably like the metal you're saying. Our definition of white is diverting from emissions from certain temperatures on the surface of the sun that are by our human eye are perceived as white. There you go. It gets so hot it's perceived as white.
Do we just come up with a new nickname for Cooper DeJean?
He is white, and he is the hottest thing in sports right now.
Actually, I like this definition I found of food. Let's leave on this one. White hot on Wikipedia. It's a variation of a hot dog, primarily found in Rochester, New York area. And it's a combination of pork, beef, and veal, smoked and cured, and it comes out a naturally white color. And it doesn't look appetizing, but when you load it up, I guess it's delicious. So
you were, as you described, you're like, that sounds disgusting. Like just a
visually,
white hot dog.
Visually, yeah.
Well, okay, but then you said something else that irks me. You're like, you load it up. But then are you really even like eating the hot dog anymore? Like if I just throw a ton of bacon and like mustard, like you're just smothering the actual meat and like disguising the meat at that point. It's like someone's like, I made a steak. Here's like some onions, some mushrooms, a bunch of sauce. I'm like, did you even eat the meat? Like you smothered it and disguised the actual meat. Like
If you're a baseball guy, you have to like a good glizzy, and that's what this is. They just got to support it. I
what's
know,
wrong with going to classic glizzy, just glizzy style? Just throw them down. You don't see. Now I can't remember the hot dog eating guy, Kobayashi or whatever, just pouring mustard on stuff. He's just free frying those glizzies as are plain glizzies.
right? Yeah,
Now
Joey
I
Chestnut.
get condiments and things like that for ballpark hot dogs and things like that. But I'm saying in general, you gotta taste the meat for the meat. Like if I had one of those hot dogs, I want one plain at first to be like, what does this meat taste like? Not what does a bunch of ketchup on a hot dog taste like, you know?
That's fine.
Not that.
That's
Yeah.
fine.
Because
But
I'm curious
so
about that meat. I mean, it looks white though, so I'm
blind taste test, you just basically alluded to it. You'd have to blindfold, so then you're
yeah,
not going to
yeah.
see it, and it's going to be appetizing because it's got the veal in there. I
They
think that's
did
the
a study a
kicker.
long time ago. Remember the green ketchup?
Yeah,
And they did it where it was like people wouldn't like it as much, even though it was literally the same thing. The color was just different. That was it. It was just a visual thing. Because they're like, this tastes the same. We didn't do anything else. It is the same product. And blind taste test, it was fine. They had no
weird.
idea, but visually, they would never. They would, and that's why they stopped making it because
Is that
people
like
wouldn't pick
the?
green ketchup.
Have you seen that clear ketchup too?
What
There's like clear ketchup because I
is
think
it
they're.
still around?
Yeah, I want to say it was like a Heinz thing. I don't know if it was like a. Obviously, it's probably limited, but I think it was real. I don't think it was like a spoof or anything, but they just kind of.
Clear ketchup. I see a German guy.
Yeah, it looked like a
It looks
gel.
like
Like
hand
it looked
sanitizer.
like yeah, exactly. Yes, perfect
It
analogy.
looks like hand sanitizer.
Yeah, a couple of random bubbles
What's
here
the
and
point of a
there.
clear ketchup?
I'm not sure.
Like green was marketed for kids. I get it. Like I get, you know what I mean? Like, oh, let's try something crazy. You know, like green ketchup. Like,
Mm-hmm.
fine, it didn't work. Whatever. What's clear for?
It, red dye. I don't know. That's my best guess.
If you're worried about the red dye and you still eat,
Right?
what's more clear is more natural for the ketchup? Like,
No, it shouldn't be. No,
I was
I'm
gonna say like
totally
what is
joking.
in the clear ketchup to make it clear, chemicals wise? Like
The only thing that I'm relating this to, I recently saw like a little clip of a daddy daycare again, and I'm like, I need to go back and watch that thing because they're
daddy
like
daycare.
this mom is like, she doesn't eat this, she doesn't drink that, she avoid these types of things, and it's just like that's a very the what she was laying out is like very common in
Yeah,
2025, and it's just like, oh my gosh, we've turned into this lady and we didn't even realize, and I was like
we didn't even.
chuckling about it. And some of it's valid, and some of it's just whatever personal choice, or if you have an aversion to it or allergy
Yeah,
or what have you.
yeah.
But it just made me want to go
I
watch
had to
Daddy
explain to somebody. They're
Daycare
like, the
again.
gluten allergy wasn't a thing before. I was like, it was. People just suffered. I'm just like, I was like people just had a miserable time eating gluten, like for a long
Well,
time.
I didn't
Yeah,
want to jinx it, but rolling into this for dinner, I had like Yolk's Deli, like chicken fingers and JoJo's, and I was
underrated,
worried.
by the way.
I was
Underrated.
I hadn't been there in a while, so I was
Yeah.
worried that like how would it affect me, if I had to pull the Jordan Flea
I,
game or something.
I pulled one of those like a week ago. No lie, went to Yolks for chicken flips because they were underrated. Because I remember my mom got some a long time ago. She brought them over like she's like hodgepodge this dinner for us, and
Hmm.
then like there was just like two pieces of chicken strips, and I was giving one to getting one ready for the kids, and take the dad tax.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that was really good. That Yolks chicken strips. So then later that week, I was like, let's get a couple chicken strips from Yolks. Underrated. So that's funny you say that. Like literally a week ago, I did the same thing. Went and got some chicken strips, JoJo's.
Do you guys ever go out to what's they do the corn maze out off Clotis Road way out in Pasco?
Corn maze. Um.
It's a really popular one. Middleton Farm.
Oh yes, yes, yes. We do.
Okay, so when you take the second exit and wraps around, then you go
Hmm.
across the highway
Yeah.
and you pass by that gas station right before you go just like a half mile to the
Okay. Is there a
Middleton.
secret at this gas station?
The gas station has like the best chicken strips, period.
Okay.
They
Okay.
buy the chicken, never frozen, it's fresh from like the local,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and they bread it themselves, and then they just and I had one of the guys from Cornwall we did a cornhole tournament kind of out that way there at this like dog training place. So it's all astroturfed on the inside. And I was like, oh, I need to grab food and probably like hit up Arby's at like King City Rest Stop or something.
Yeah.
He was like,
King
he's
City.
like,
Yeah, sorry.
he was like, are you sure? He goes, if you're up for it, he goes, I'm going to this place and it has the best chicken strips in the Tri-Cities. I was just like, say less. I got to try
let's give it a
this.
shot.
And so I gave it a shot. I was like, dude, like, no joke. You could just tell it was handmade fresh. It was like really good. So I was like,
chicken
I'm
strips are pretty
hitting.
safe either way. Even a bad chicken strip's
Sure.
not a bad
Sure.
food. So that's why it's a safe call. You're like, well,
Yeah.
worst case scenario, it's a it's a breaded chicken. You know what I mean? Like, it'll be fine. I wouldn't regret getting it.
Right. So I was like, hey, next time we go to Middleton's, let's get lunch there. We don't have to spend $60 in Middleton's.
That's
food,
good.
so.
Okay.
Anyway.
Chicken strips at that gas station. I know which one you're talking about too. Okay.
Yeah. Cool. All right. We've gone on a complete.
That's what the people pay for, though. That's fine.
Dad stories tangent.
Buying chicken strips at gas stations. It's what we do. You know. It's what dads do.
Yeah, you got to know the best. You got to just. Oh, what's the? Oh, I got a guy for that. Like you just got to. You have to know what's the best and where to get it and how to. Yeah.
Exactly.
So, all right, cool. Outfielders next week. This is Shortstops. He's Sean. I'm JT. As always, we thank you for joining us. We appreciate you listening. Take care. Be well. And until next time, see ya.